Ah Seigneur, Jésus dans l'hostie, Saint-Sacrement, ouvert le ciel, fermez l'enfer, ouvert le ciel, je me rends à vous.
Ah Seigneur, Jésus dans l'hostie, Saint-Sacrement, ouvert le ciel, fermez l'enfer, ouvert le ciel, je me rends à vous.
Well, this is the second video I'm dropping for today. I believe the title is going to be Not Every Ancestor is a Good Ancestor. I should have worded it and said not every ancestor is an ancestor. Because there's a lot of people that, that represent, I guess they come from certain train of thought. They're into like African spiritual, like I wouldn't even say African spirituality, but I would say they're very pro-black, and I find this a lot in the Western world. And they say, my ancestors, my ancestors, my ancestors, but they don't get it. Ancestors, my ancestors, my ancestors. I've had cousins that stole from me. You have cousins that stole from you. There's some people with cousins that are murderers. Or malevolent, excuse me. It does not mean that does this mean that every ancestor is malevolent? No. But it lets us know that there are good and there are wicked ancestors. I have a lot of people that have this kumbaya thing, Hotep and Hotepu, and they start talking all this stuff. And even when it comes down to altars, you got to know what you're doing. People make a lot of these altars and not realize why the things that are happening in their life are happening. Because when you do not know how to set up an altar, that is condemnation that you'll be bringing to yourself. You think you're doing good for this ancestor, but you're pissing this ancestor off, and that ancestor is causing the calamity that you have in your life. And especially if it is an ancestor whose heart is hardened. Those are the worst forms of spirits to deal with, because there is no good in them. Some Africans that were brought into the New World were criminals. And you had all of them, you had the other ones that were good as well. The problem is, a lot that I run across with people is that they do not discriminate when it comes to who they work with. They want to say, I'm going to pick this one up, I'm going to pick this one up, I'm going to pick this one up. No. Even in Haitian voodoo, I want to say this. In Haitian voodoo, there's a lot of people that do not work with Marinette because they say that she's too dangerous. So I say this to say that you have to be very careful. I remember this lady in Canada. I told her that in my culture, because they don't talk about this in America, this is what Woongans and Wombos won't tell you in America. And I've said this before. In Haiti, they tell you, if you work with Don't Talk, do not be negligent, because she will kill your children. One day this lady tells me she goes to school. Like, she was a teacher, and all of a sudden she was walking, and all of a sudden she seen this car come out of nowhere and hit this kid. I'm not too sure what happened to the child, but it's basically like, I guess probably third grader or second grader, something like that. But I'm not too sure. I don't remember what happened to the child whatsoever. But that child was hit by a car. So I say this not to condemn Ezerli Donto. I would basically say to people, know what you're dealing with. There's a lot of people in voodoo They want you to initiate, konzo, initiate. And they're giving you something that's too hot for your head. I gotta wash you guys down because I don't think a lot of you get it yet. I remember there's this female. I remember she wanted something hot for me. Very hot. I told her, do not let anyone remove anything from the altar. What you put on the altar stays there. Don't you know? Later on, this female has a guy friend who comes over that night, and he drinks all the alcohol. This lady had alcohol there for the spirit. This guy takes the bottle and drinks all of the alcohol. And he puts the bottle where he pleased. Don't you know that same night he went out, someone randomly picked up an empty bottle and threw it at his head, and the bottle broke and split his head open? Blood was gushing everywhere. They said they could see the white meat. Voodoo is not hoodoo. Well, now let me explain this. Haitian voodoo is not hoodoo. It is not New Orleans voodoo. When I say New Orleans voodoo, V-O-O-D-O-O. This is not that tradition. When you step into Haitian voodoo, you're dealing with something that's very hot. Though many have tried to water it down in the Western world, it's a very hot tradition. And you got to be careful. So, to get back in line with the focus of this video, you have to be very careful. Because not every ancestor is an ancestor. Some are very hardened. Why are their hearts hardened? Because when you think of what some of these ancestors went through, speaking of ancestors of our time in the New World, you realize that they were subject to insane treatment. You know, they were working in cornfields with someone over their back whipping them, beating them, raping them, abusing them. You know, they were forced to live. They were forced to get on ships for months. You know, for months. You know, to squander in their own excrement. You know, all these things shaped and hardened the hearts of some of these African slaves, or, you know, ancestors, as though we like to call them. Well, this has to be taken into consideration. You know, a lot of people just throw stuff out the window. you know, if someone died in a harsh way, you have to know that their heart is very hardened, and these are the most dangerous spirits, because the way they die is the same retribution they'll carry out on those who piss them off or try to awaken them from their sleep. And by you bringing them up and not knowing how to deal with them, they can come and harm you. They can come and harm your loved ones. They will do all types of malevolent things. Some were child molesters. Some could be rapists. Could have been rapists. You know, some could have been murderers. Think about it like this. Is that Africans that were brought over into the New World, some were just free, and some were criminals. I got to repeat this. Because everyone I meet, they put on a dashiki and they start singing these kumbaya songs and they lose the focus. This is serious business. You know, this is not, just put a glass of water at an altar and burn a white candle. No, this is serious business. So with that said, I hope I got into a lot of you guys' heads with this video here. And I thank you guys for watching. Be safe.